Have you ever had an object in your scene that you struggle to get the right view of? Or have you duplicated a bunch of objects to later realize that you have to add a modifier to all of them one by one? Today you'll learn 8 useful tips and tricks to make your Blender usage easy, fluid, and satisfying. Whether you're just starting out with Blender or are already a seasoned pro, I guarantee you'll learn something valuable. To start, we've all gone through the pain of modeling an object, duplicating it throughout our scene, and only after realizing we forgot to add a material to that object. I would have just deleted the duplicates, added the material, and repeated the process, but there's a much easier method, especially if your duplicates were precisely placed. Add your material to one of your objects, then shift select the rest. Finally, shift select your first object again, turning it orange. Now hit Ctrl or Command if you're on Mac and the L key, and select Link Materials. Now all of your objects have the same material, and you only have to change one to change the rest. Next, the second tip is similar to the first. If you duplicated your objects but forgot to add a modifier to all of them, repeat the process from before. Add the modifier to one of the objects, shift select the rest, shift select the first one to turn it orange, and hit Ctrl or Command plus L, and this time select Copy Modifiers. Now all your objects have the same modifier. Sometimes it's helpful to have 2 viewports, another shader editor, or a timeline. Or it's helpful to get rid of everything except the viewport. To add more of what are called areas in Blender, right-click on the junction between 2 areas and select Vertical Split if you want to split that vertically, and Horizontal Split to split it sideways. But if you get carried away like me, right-click on the junctions and hit Join Area, and it will expand that area in the direction of the arrow. For the fourth tip, I find it really annoying when I have to constantly adjust my view of my object because I'm not pivoting around it. Luckily, I discovered an easy fix. Anytime this happens, just hit the tilde or tilde key, and then 3 to focus on your object. Now you can pivot around it smoothly without having to constantly make little adjustments. If you hit the tilde key again, you can see that there are a few more options. View Camera toggles camera view, and the rest view the object from the side they're named from. This is a tip that most people know, but I wanted to put it in here in case you didn't. When you move your camera to render, hit the N key, go to View, and hit Camera to View. Next, go into Camera View, and now you can see that as you move, so does your camera. If you ever want to turn this off, just click the checkbox again and exit Camera View. In Blender, when you rotate an object, it usually rotates around its origin. But if you ever need to rotate an object around another, it quickly becomes a pain. To adjust what your object rotates around, move it somewhere over here, then hit the period key, and find 3D cursor. Now you can see that when I rotate it, it rotates around the 3D cursor, not around its origin. There are also some other options here, but I just suggest it's experimenting with these, because the only way to know what they do is to do them. Next, and this applies to the previous tip, if you ever want to move your 3D cursor, hit Shift S and select where you want to move it. The options are pretty straightforward for the 3D cursor, but half of them instead mention the selection. These allow you to move your selected object instead of the cursor, which is helpful if you wanted to move an object to your cursor or snap that object to the grid. This last tip ties back into the first two. If you have one or more objects you want to duplicate, you can do so with collection instances. I don't know the particular details of what this does, but I'm going to show you by moving this cube over here, duplicating it a few times. Then I'm going to select all of them, hit M, and I'll move them to a new collection called cubes. Then I'll hit Shift A and find collection instance at the bottom, and select my cubes collection, and I'll move it over here. Now you should have a duplicate of the collection, but you might find something strange about it. You can't select individual objects or go into edit mode. If you want to make changes to them, select objects from the original collection, and all duplicates should change at once. So I'll show you by rotating this, and you can see that over here, that cube rotates as well. And that should sum it up for this video. I hope that you learned something that you didn't know before, and that you find these tips useful. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe and like the video, as it helps me out a ton.